Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today I'm doing another interview. My guest today is super exciting. They are a writer and co-producer of The Next Step. They have written season 3, season 4 and season 7, and they've also recently been working on some of the TNS mini-series such as TNS Dance Dilemmas, TNS Dance Captain Diary and more. So today Amy Cole will be joining me.
Hi, I'm Amy Cole and I'm a writer and producer on The Next Step.
Thank you so much for coming, Amy. So today we're going to be talking about your TV writing career. My first question is, when did you first get into the TV writing world?
Well, I wanted to be a TV writer ever since I can remember. I would, stay up late and watch Saturday Night Live and different comedy shows, and old reruns of Degrassi would be on CBC after school, and so I knew then, this is what I want to do. But I was from a really small town and we didn't have anything like that really, so I just studied English in school and in high school, and then I went to university in Toronto. So I moved to Toronto, where I still live now, and went to university for TV there. I also did a semester at Bournemouth University in television production, and I interned at the BBC, which was so much fun. There was a show called The Saturday Show. I don't know if that's still a show, but I worked there all week, and then I got to be there for the taping of that, and that was really fun. So then after I graduated, I was also a musician in a band. I still am, and my band got signed, and I ended up touring with my band for a really long time and didn't do any TV writing for almost like 10 years. And then one day, while I was in Cleveland, Ohio, waiting to go on, I was just on my phone and I saw something about the Canadian Film Centre that was doing a script writing, television writing course, and I thought, you know what, like if I'm ever gonna give it a shot at TV writing, I should apply to this. So I wrote all my scripts while we were like driving around in a van all over Canada and the States, and then I sent in all my stuff, and then I got into the CFC, Canadian Film Centre, and it was an amazing experience. From there, I got an agent, and I started working first in animation writing. I did a few animated series, and then I moved on to live action writing, and then I was eventually hired to work on The Next Step, and here I am.
Oh, amazing. It sounds like your early career was great, and it's really cool to kind of hear what's kind of led up to where you are now. What has it been like writing for the mini-series on The Next Step, such as TNS Dance Dilemmas and the Dance Captain Diary?
It's been really fun. Surprisingly fun, considering most of the pandemic has been, not fun at all. Here in Canada, the restrictions have been very strict, and they're only just, this week starting to let up a little bit. So of course we can't shoot The Next Step as we normally would. So this is an opportunity to kind of create some content, tell some stories, have some fun with our amazing cast, and do some things while we can't all be together. The writing is really different as well. Usually we have a super wonderful writer's room, and we're all together having fun and pitching fun ideas to each other, bouncing story ideas, things like that. None of that happened this time. It was myself and Jan Caruana, another writer who is fantastic, and she is wonderful, and she and I worked together to work on these stories, but again, not in the same room. We would be like you and I are now, over Zoom, kind of talking over story ideas, and the writing was almost entirely, by myself, like curled up on the couch or wherever, or here at this desk. A very lonely process, which most of writing is, but most writing for TV actually isn't. A lot of writing TV is writing in a room, and so with other people. So it was different, but in the end, it was really fun. We had, a really amazing crew of people working. The director, Emily, was wonderful. And, the cast, as always, were great, and it was a lot of fun. So it was different, very different, but fun.
Yeah, well, it sounds like working on those was kind of like a different experience, but also really fun as well, like you said. And I guess like also during lockdown, it must have felt really nice to kind of get up and do something like that.
It was so nice to see the cast again. I mean, we stopped shooting season 7. It was September of 2019, you know, so it's been almost 2 years since seeing them. So it was really nice to catch up and yeah, kind of revisiting the characters, getting back, hearing their voices in your head again after not having done that for so long, and thinking of where are they now? Like, it's after Dance Mania, like what's going on? We can't go too far ahead in time, but what are some small stories that we can tell that might be interesting for people to learn about?
Yeah, 100%. And also with like the Dance Captain Diary, it must have been nice having like Vic come back and Jordan and Skylar as well. It must have been kind of nice rewriting them back in for a short time.
It was great. Yeah, when I found out, it was like, okay, let's do the Dance Captain Diary. It was immediately like, we know that the fans of The Next Step are passionate about the show and know what's going on, and it's like, we have to have Skylar. Yes, it's possible Skylar could have given it to Emily when she left. Of course it is, and we could have done that. But I thought we all thought it would be a really special thing for the fans to see Skylar again, and also visit these other dance captains. You know, like seeing Noah and seeing Giselle, seeing these people that have a big part of the history of the Dance Captain Diary. Just kind of having fun. Seeing them again, retelling those stories, and hearing about what the Dance Captain Diary meant to them, because I think it had been a while since the Dance Captain Diary had been in the show. I think season 4 was the last time, and so it was just kind of fun to be like, what's happened since then? What's going on? So yeah, it was super fun.
Yeah, it definitely does sound fun, and it was great to see those characters again. So you were saying earlier that TV writing has always been something you've been passionate about and wanted to do, but do you have any advice to somebody who wants to get into that world?
Yes, I'm sure it's common advice, but just start writing, even if you think you don't know what you're doing. I don't know the rules. Like, I don't know. Am I funny? I'm not sure. Like, it does just start. If you have a story in your head and you need to get it out, get it out. There are so many resources you can use that are free. You don't have to pay for school. You can listen to, there's some great podcasts on screenwriting that are free. I'm sure there's great YouTube videos about screenwriting that offer tips. There's so much stuff online. Learn all you can, read that stuff, but also it's learning by doing, and the more you do it, the better you will get. I promise. It happens. You will get better by practicing. Even if you're like me and everything you write, it's like, oh no, is this good? I don't know if it's good. Oh, I can't show anyone. Like, you will get better with time and with practice, and that would be my main advice is do it.
Yeah, that's some great advice, and I think like it's stuff, obviously, like you kind of said, it's like usual advice, but I think it definitely is a good point. Like, you just have to kind of go for it, I guess, in that industry, and that I think you kind of have to take risks as well, would you say?
Absolutely. You do have to take risks. You have to believe in yourself, and even though that's really hard, I understand. Like, it's terrifying to stand up and say, I think I am good at this, and I think this thing that I wrote is good, and I think you should read it. Like, that's a scary thing, but you can do it. You can do it, and just keep working. And if someone says, you know what, actually this isn't good, like, write another one. That's all you can do. That's another piece of advice, is get back up. If someone, I hate, this is a bad script, like, okay, can you tell me why it's bad? Like, maybe get some advice. And then, no matter what happens, it's just keep going. So many writers have stories of people telling them, you'll never make it, you'll never be a writer, but then they just keep doing it, and that's what you got to do.
Yeah, that's so true, and I definitely agree. So one show which is kind of connected to The Next Step, I guess you could say, is Lost and Found. So you were also a writer on that show, so what was that experience like?
Yes, I loved it. I loved Lost and Found. I loved writing on Lost and Found. That was actually the show I got hired to work on first, before The Next Step, I think, was Lost and Found, because it was being conceived of as a spin-off of The Next Step. It was originally called The Music Room because it was supposed to be taking place in the music room that was a part of theoretically the building that the next step was also in. And then, we had James and his band slowly appearing in episodes of the show as things went on. And being a musician and being in a band, I felt like I had a lot more experience. I am not a good dancer, so I'm not really bringing my dancing skills to the table at the next step. But with Lost and Found, at least I had background in music, background being in a band, background touring. So when characters are forming a band, characters are thinking about going on tour, characters are making a music video, I could kind of speak to that a little bit more. And it was also really fun to work with the musicians. Marco, who's the music supervisor, who's also the music supervisor on the next step, is just a genius composer, amazing, and his team that he's put together is so good. And so it was so fun to work on the music with them. So many of those songs are just great songs, like by themselves, like even if they weren't in the show, like if they were on the radio, I just think they are so good. And many of the writers were the same as we're working on the next step too. So it was just kind of fun to sort of be working in two worlds at once. It was really hectic, but really fun. And I love Lost and Found.
Yeah, it definitely does sound really fun, and it's amazing that you got to do it. So where do you see yourself in 10 years' time?
Wow, hopefully I'll be out of this office by then. Hopefully we'll be out in the world a little bit more. If I'm lucky, I'll be doing what I'm doing now still. I will have continued a career in writing. I've a writer, you're always working on, you're never doing nothing as a writer. Even if you don't have a paying job at that very minute, you should still be working on your own personal projects. So who knows, maybe in 10 years time I will have a show that I've created on the air, but maybe I'll just still be working on other projects. Maybe it'll be the next step, season, what would that be, like 18, 19, 20, season 20 by then? Maybe. Who knows? We'll have to see.
Yeah, I think those are definitely some kind of good goals. And like you said, like as long as you're kind of keeping going with what you're doing and like you're enjoying it, that's kind of all that matters. So obviously the next step was a big part of your career. So what was it like writing multiple seasons for the show?
It was really fun. I started on season 3 of the show, so it's a very different show now than it was then. Most of the cast is almost completely different now. Emily and Michelle were still on season 3, but it was really fun, and it's just watching not only the characters kind of grow and evolve, but watching the actors, the dancers, watching them grow up. Right in front of you. It's just so nice to see what amazing people they're all becoming. It's just great, and getting to watch them evolve and like take part in other projects. It's so lovely to see. And as a writer, getting to kind of evolve the stories of the characters is really fun. Seeing where, thinking about Emily in season 3 and then who she becomes, and then by the end of season 7 leaving the next step and everything that she's gone through throughout her time from season 1 to the end of season 7. It's just fun to have been a part of the journey of these characters.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. And also as a fan watching it, it's lovely to kind of see the characters grow as well, and it must be lovely for you as well to kind of in a way decide the character's future as well. It definitely sounds really fun.
Yeah, it is. It is really fun. We take a lot of we take it very seriously, because we know how much these characters mean to people, and so we really think hard about wanting to stay true to these characters and who they are, and watching them grow.
Yeah, though, that's amazing. So if you could pick, what has been the best moment in your career?
Like being a writer, again, being in a band and playing music, you get on the stage, you're in front of an audience, you play the song and they go woo, or they clap, or they're silent, but you get that feedback instantaneously. As a writer, you don't. Like, we write the scripts, we write the stories, we shoot the show, and then it's months before anyone sees them. So when I think about career highlights, it's things like, I mean, it's a bit like this. It's you being such a fan of the show and wanting to hear more about how it's made and learn more about the writers and the people involved in doing it. That's like a huge deal. And things like when we shoot the end performances, like in season 7 when we did Dance Mania, or seasons 3 and 4 when we're doing the big competitions, and we shoot the show at the Sony Center here in Toronto, and we have a lot of real fans come in to watch, and just watching real fans react to what happens, these fantastic dances, and just reacting in real time and seeing what happens, and seeing how much they love it is a really big deal. It happened in season 4 too. We went to London, England to shoot the hip hop competition for a bit, and just seeing, sometimes we'd be shooting a scene like outside, like along the river, and kids would walk by and they would recognize, James and Eldon and Wes. They would recognize them and get really excited, and just seeing that impact of us here in Toronto with these little ideas, and now here we are in London, England, and the show has traveled this far, and people are excited about it. Like, it's all of these things. It never gets old. I don't think we ever lose sight of that, about what the show means to people, and it's so much more than just what we're creating here. It's taken on a life of its own.
Yeah, well, I think that's definitely kind of like a career highlight. I guess like the next step kind of is, and like seeing, like you were saying, like the fans' reactions, because I guess you didn't get to see it every day. I was just wondering, like, when you feel like the competitions like regionals, internationals, Dance Mania, like how do you get the fans to kind of keep silent about who wins those competitions?
How do we get them to keep silent? We were like, please, 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 please don't say anything. I think people have to sign something. I think that tells them not to. Though in the past we did shoot, like with nationals and with internationals, we would shoot both versions. We'd be like, and the winner is the next step, like, yay, and the winner is elite, yay. So you wouldn't know, or the audience sitting there wouldn't know which version was going to be the real one. So that's another way. I forget if we did it for Dance Mania, if we did a few different ones. I can't remember. But that's a way. So that's a way to do it, is to keep the audience confused.
Yeah, well, that is quite a clever way. And you were talking about like the next step kind of coming to London. And I know like the outside scenes were done in London, but was like the actual hip hop competition filmed in London, or was that filmed back in Toronto?
It was not. Yes, the actual competition was done in Toronto. So we were only in London for 1 week, but it stretched out over, I don't even know, like the entire course of that season. So it was the world's longest hip hop competition ever. but we shot for a week. And that's, yes, and just getting all of these outdoor locations, and of course, everything with seeing Ella again was a big deal. That was a super fun thing, and she was in London.
Yeah, well, that sounds super fun. And yeah, I can remember like Ella coming back for one episode, and I think like as a fan it was kind of nice to see what had happened within the time that she was at internationals and then kind of came back at that. So that was like definitely a cool moment. Yeah,
it was really nice that we got to do that and sort of have Ella involved there.
Yeah, definitely. So what was it like writing a Big Top Academy, the TV show?
That was really fun. For that, I moved to Montreal, which is another city in Canada, in the province of Quebec. And French is the first language there. Mainly, the whole country is the two official languages are English and French, as you probably know. But French is the more prominent language there. So, though Big Top Academy was an English language TV show. But Montreal is a beautiful city. If you're ever interested in traveling to Canada, I would recommend Montreal highly as a place to visit. It was a lot of fun. And again, it was another performance show. It's about circus artists at a circus school instead of dancers at a dance studio. But it was really fun, and the show was also in collaboration with Cirque du Soleil, and so we got to see a few Cirque du Soleil shows, and they helped us with so many elements of the performances of the show. So yeah, it was a great experience.
Yeah, it does sound like a great experience, and it's great you got to do it. So is there anybody that you feel inspired by or look up to in the TV writing world?
Oh, yes. Yes, I'm inspired by so many people. So many people. I don't even know how to start the list. When I was first thinking about TV writing, I was really inspired by Tina Fey, who was the first female head writer of Saturday Night Live, and now I'm sure you know she created 30 Rock and a new show called Girls 5 Eva, and she's done movies. She wrote Mean Girls. So she's had a career that I just think is incredible. Of course, she was on Saturday Night Live for many years as well. Yeah, she's had an amazing career. So that is a person that I would say I look up to. Someone like Phoebe Waller-Bridge or Michaela Cole, who have created, I don't know if you know them, but there's the show Fleabag and the show I May Destroy You. They might be a bit mature for some of your viewers, so I'm not saying go watch them right now, but they're examples of women who've created their own their own shows. And though I'm not a performer, I wouldn't want to act in my own show. I just think they're brilliant writers who have taken some like not great things that have happened in their lives, to put it mildly, to take really significant events of their lives and turn them into not only a show, but like a brilliantly written and funny. They're both really funny shows when, you know, they didn't have to be. They're both incredible. I have lots of friends I admire. Karen and Rachel, who you've interviewed both of them. They are fantastic at what they do, and they're both brilliant writers in their own right. I could go on forever, but being a writer, I think, is being a fan of other writers. You know, if you're thinking of getting into writing, just start to look at the shows that you love and start to see who wrote those shows, and become a fan of writers.
Yeah, well, that is great, and I think it's great like that you look up to people you know and people you've worked with, but also like people who you haven't worked with and who you've kind of seen their work be performed. So I think that's amazing. So I have one more question for you, and this is always my favourite question, and is, do you have any stories from The Next Step or any other projects that you've worked on?
I think it's funny because with The Next Step, I've seen on YouTube they have, and of course like they have so many fun behind the scenes content already, because there was a story in season 7 that we did that was so fun with Maddie Langdon, who plays Winnie on The Next Step, and we did a whole story about how she becomes dance captain of B Troop for a day, and it was so hilarious to watch, and just the whole cast and the whole crew were just losing their minds at how funny it was. And if you haven't seen it, it's on YouTube, I think, and we did put it in one of the Next Step Winnie's dance dilemmas. I think there's a clip of it in there, and so you might have seen it. You're like, what? There's a whole story that happens where Nick is like, well, we should probably go by seniority over who should be dance captain, you know, instead of Cleo or Summer, who probably most likely, you know, should have been, and at the end are chosen instead. But they go with Winnie, and it just, the power immediately goes to her head, like right away. And it's just so funny. And there's so many examples of things like that we do that make us laugh in the room, that end up happening on set even funnier than we thought it would. And then it ultimately doesn't make it into the show for time, usually, which is unfortunate. There's so many examples of things like that. But luckily, I've seen them on YouTube, so sometimes you can find them.
Yeah, well, like personally, I loved that storyline, and it was a shame it didn't make it. But yeah, it is available on YouTube, and like you were saying, like about the dance dilemmas, it does appear in it, so it's super cool. So we have came to the end of the interview now, and it's been amazing finding out more about yourself and your career. So thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thank you, Charlie. This was a lot of fun.
You're most welcome, and also thank you to everybody who watched the interview. I hope you enjoyed it and found out a little bit more about Amy, and I'll see you soon for another one. Bye, guys.
Bye.